Hi, this is Nick Collier, and today we're going to start a new project, and this one is in the jewelry nature. We're going to take this roll of wire, not the whole roll of course, but some of the roll of wire, and pull it down to a thinner material, and then make a link bracelet out of it. So follow along, and hey, let's have some fun. Okay, so we're starting with 10 gauge wire, and we're going to put it in the gauge maker here, and yep, it is 10 gauge, and we're going to probably take it down to 14 or maybe 15 gauge. So it's going to go down, about half the distance, which will make this wire twice as long. So we begin by doing a filing process. Let me get it straightened out a little bit first. What we have to do is kind of point one end of it to give it like a pencil sort of point to it. So, and we're going to just do the filings onto the table here because there's going to be a substantial amount of filings, and then we'll scrape them up later and put them in the gold drawer. Okay, so now gold's a very interesting material because it's very, very flexible. There's our filings right there. Not too bad. Probably about 20 bucks worth of filings. So what we're going to do is we got that thing pointed now. And we're going to come in with a draw plate. Now a draw plate is set up so that each hole is just slightly bigger than the next, or slightly smaller, depending on which way you go. And you'll notice that it's kind of a cone shape. So the draw plate, you put your piece of metal in through the hole, and you just keep going down until it fits something. And there it kind of fits, and we're going to just keep going up until we find one that, there it is right there. So it just barely fits. Now at this point, what I'll do is I'll grab it with the tongs. And here's the tongs here. And they got a kind of a little grip thing here because you grab it and pull. And basically what we'll do is just put this in the vise, grab this, and yank this through there. And it will make it, just slightly smaller. And then you put it through the next hole, the next smaller hole, and then make it slightly smaller again and smaller again. Now with gold, with silver you can just kind of keep pulling through. But with gold you got to pull it through 3 times and then that's it. And then you come back and you got to anneal the gold because the molecules in the gold stretch out so much that it's actually not the molecules in the gold, it's the molecules in the alloys. They stretch out so much that after you pull it 3 or 4 or 5 times, it'll start breaking. And not only that, but it harms the draw plate. So we're going to go out into the shop where the vise is, and we're going to pull some wire here. Okay, so we found our next size hole. We've got our piece of wire in there. Now we need to lubricate the wire itself, or else it'll kind of stretch out the hole in the draw plate. And draw plate looks really tough, and it is pretty tough, but you're doing a lot of pressure by pulling wire through it. So we hit it with a little bit of wax, beeswax, our beeswax, and grab it with the tongs and just start yanking. There's one pull. That might be the same hole. It is. There's the next smaller hole. There's 2 holes. And you can see the wire's gotten, oh, it's probably gotten about 3 or 4 inches longer. Now the wire's pretty hot at this point, so we're going to put just a little bit more wax on it. And we're going to do our third pull. There's 2. Yeah, that's the same size. Here comes the third pull. Ready? Now that added about 3 more inches to it. So now we got to go in. The metal has gotten really rigid and it was really hard to pull through. So now we got to take it in and just take it up to just a kind of a dull red color to allow the molecules to relax again so we can continue the pulling process. Okay, so we got our torch lit up. Now we're basically just going to heat this up to a dull red color. But the problem is that there's too much light in here for me to see dull red. So I'm going to turn this off, and it's probably, you're not going to be able to see anything but the flame. But you'll see that we're going to be lighting this thing up. There we go. And just kind of work our way down the wire. Okay, so now we've got it annealed, and probably it's still hot. So we'll get something to grab it with here. Take it out and cool it off, and let's go back out to the draw plate. Okay, so back to the draw plate. Now we're going to, let's flip this around so we can get to it a little bit easier. And we're going to find that last hole. That's probably, let's see if we can pull through that one. Okay, we got our American Standard wire gauge for non-ferrous metal, which is gold, silver, brass, aluminum, I believe, copper, a few other things. So we are we're running at 11 gauge, so we're running at a little bit tighter than 12 gauge. So we've still got one more gauge to do, and I think we're going to take it to 13 rather than 14. So let's pull it through one more time, and I'm betting that one more time is going to get it for us. And I'm feeling the wire, and I feel that the wax got pulled off of it this last time. So let's just put a little bit more wax on. Go into our This is probably the old hole. It is, but it doesn't matter. Better that than jumping a hole. Okay. Now, ready? Okay, that added a couple of 2-3 inches to it also. And we are at, well, we're just now at 12 gauge. So let's take it a little bit further. But at this point, now the wire's gotten pretty stiff, and it's time to take it and anneal it one more time. And you've already seen the annealing process, so we're going to just go in there and do that, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we've annealed it one more time. We're going to give it one last pull here. I think better to we bring this over so it has a little bit more strength to it. One last pull. Oh, yeah. Okay, now we actually have a good 2 feet of wire. And let's see what we've got. thickness wise. Okay, it's well past 12 and it's almost to 13. So I think we're going to stop there and go in there and start playing with our design. So I made this bracelet for my wife, oh, probably 20 years ago. And I've made a couple since, but haven't really concentrated on the design. But you can see that it's very flexible and very fluid. And and I had somebody who wants one like it, so we're going to make that. Now we just got to pulling this through the, once again through the annealing process, because from this point on we're going to cut it up into small segments and we're going to be bending it and forming it, and it needs to be fairly soft in order to do that. So let's fire up the torch one more time and start this annealing. And again, you're probably not going to see this, but hey, there you go. Okay, so what I do with these little things is you'll notice this hammer has got a flat on one side and a slight round or slight dish shape on the other side. And what I do is I bring it up to where it has rolled to the top. And just flatten it out. Just enough where it feels pretty good. Swing that around, flatten this one out. A little bit more. That looks pretty good. We've got, it just spreads out a little bit. Now I'm going to come in and file it round and make it look nice again. But at this point, I think that's going to be pretty good. Well, maybe just take this one out just a little bit further. Yeah, there we go. Do another. Okay, so now we've got 16 of these things all pounded out and shaped out. Now we're going to come in with the file and just shape them just a little bit, just to kind of clean up those edges and make it look round again. Okay, let's bring you in close. Okay, so now you can see that the circumference of that is, just a little bit rough. It just needs to be just slightly trimmed out. Some of them are rougher than others. There we go. We'll do this one. Now this one's pretty rough here. It's kind of not roundy at all. Okay, now that we've got all 16 formed and ready to go, we're going to come in and we're going to make sure that this is the concave part, which is the part that was away from the anvil and under the hammer, and this is the flat part, which is the part that was sitting on the anvil. And we're going to bring that like that, and then we're going to take this special pair of pliers. Actually, we're going to go the other direction. Find center. make sure we're square out. There we go. Let's find center once again. And squeeze. And that's going to make the beginnings of our design. Okay, so now we have 16 of these lined up and ready to go. The little V is set. Now what we do is come in with the rounded part of the hammer and just tap it. Now this is the place where you can wang your fingers if you're not real careful. So you want to be a little bit more careful. Just a little bit. That's probably enough. A little bit more on the other side. Yeah, that's plenty right there. All right, we'll do 14 more of those and we will return. Okay, this next part is the ultimate in directing the drill bit, because in gold, especially this small of a piece with a little bit of an angle on the surface, the bit wants to walk around all over the place. So what you have to do is you have to kind of get the bit started. And you can see it just kind of walk. And I have to kind of just direct it until it gets going. And then look and see where my hole is. Notice how it's off a ways. So I'm going to really kind of put a radical bend on it there just to get it to direct in the more centered. See, now it's more centered. There it goes. And that's pretty centered. Let's do it one more time here. Now this one's a bit low. So I'll just kind of walk the bit up a little bit, or the drill bit up a little bit, and it's ready to go. Make sure we're still good. Now we're a little bit high, so bring it back. There we go. Take it straight down. And that's pretty good. So we've got, 20, 30 odd more of these to do, and okay, so now I've pulled down another piece of wire all the way down to jump ring size, and if we're going to look at what I need to make, you can see there's a little jump ring in between each one of these babies, and so we need to somehow make them round. Now you can come in, let me see if I can find that pair of pliers. You can come in with a pair of pliers like this with the round nose pliers and grab it and make a jump ring, and it works. But after doing this for 35 years, I found out a little faster way, and that is to take and put the piece of wire right up against the piece here, and come on. Oops. There we go. And then bring it in tighter. Back it up just a little bit. Come on, back up. And then grab it with one of the tongs of the almost did it. There we go. And of course I messed up the first part, but it's not too bad. Oh, wait a second here. The problem with using a big big drill is it's a big drill. Let's try this. So we need to get about another half dozen jump rings out of this mess. So we're just gonna spin that around and whip out a few more jump rings. I think that should do it. Nice thing about this is, even though it's a fight, is they're all the same size. So then I just come in with a hacksaw, or not a hacksaw, but a jeweler's hacksaw, and saw out the jump rings, and they all just kind of fall apart and turn into perfect circles. So we will be back soon. Okay, what you want to do is use an incredibly fine saw blade, as fine as you can find, because this is going to have a lot of pull on it, and you don't want to have it mess up on you. So I can think, let's do it this way. So we're just going to start sawing. There we go. Alright, so this is the dark side of jewelry making. We're going to take each one of these. This is also I call this fingers burnt time, because sure enough that's what happens. But basically we're just going to take our piece, each piece, and polish the surface until it comes out looking good. Alright, so here's, we're trying to kind of come in and show you the difference between the polished and the unpolished one. And are we going to be able to see a difference? Probably. It's hard to tell. Oh, there we go. Now, the first one's polished and the rest of them aren't, and we're going to polish those up first thing in the morning.